Welcome back to day 128 of our chess journey to 1500 ELO on chess.com. It's kind of funny actually, 127 days ago today, I decided it would be fun just try to play a game of chess and record it like I've seen others do before me, and well, it was fun in fact, and we're here, and I guess at this point we're in it for the long run. So we'll just jump ahead into today's game as well here, find an opponent and just get going. We've been doing a lot better recently after our recent losing streak. At least I think so. And today we're faced with a 1640 rated opponent. If we win today, it appears we'll win 12 points, and if we lose, it appears we'll lose 4. So we're in for a Sicilian against a higher rated opponent here, Mahar Borg Ilep from the Philippines. We have an Alpin. It's been a while since last time, but this is the line we play. Now this, all normal stuff. I remember e6 here being important to prevent this annoying pawn push. This is interesting though. Haven't seen this before, but I guess it does make sense here, as we can't take the pawn, as it would lose us a knight. Or would it? Yeah, I guess it would. Because we can't take here, doesn't work, then we're just entirely losing. So then, what do we do first here? I think we'll just come out here, which I think tends to be a good move in the Alpin. Now the queen can't take here, but well, I guess we could see the knight taking, of course. So this, I think, is quite typical. We'll maybe come back here, hit the bishop, it's going to fall back most likely. And then I guess we blunt it and prevent the pawn push. However, I think we might have something here, namely taking this pawn. Because in this position, I think I don't see a compelling reason as to why we would not cash in on what appears to be, of course, not an entirely free pawn, because our opponent does get some development for it. But let's say we play this, the knight comes out, we play this move, and honestly I think we're getting developed a bit too quickly for our opponent to take complete advantage of our pawn here. So let's take here in fact. Our opponent does take with the knight, and now I think I'd like to come up here and prepare some eventual castling, like this for example. We still have quite a lot of time here. We don't want to greedily go for this pawn though. Our knights are quite well positioned. We need to prevent this, I think, and get our bishop out. So let's go to e6. If this is played, we come out with the bishop, and we don't mind this trade, I'm pretty sure. Now this pawn here might be loose in some positions. I don't quite know if it's considered loose here or not. This is played, and now I don't quite think we have d5 in fact, as our opponent here has quite good control over the square. Or actually, they would have to take en passant. And then we'd come out with a queen, and I think our pawn here is kind of, it's done its job, and it doesn't appear to be much of a setback anymore at that point. This, I think, forces en passant, because otherwise we have quite an important center pawn passed. No pawns here for our opponent. So this, if it forces en passant, we could take with the queen and potentially be looking at a queen trade up a pawn. I'm still kind of evaluating the position quickly here, but I think this looks to be quite good. Just want to make sure there is no in-between move like this, but I don't think it is. We come up and en passant is no longer possible there, so we will in fact come up here, I think, and break free of our cage, at least somewhat. And as I mentioned, I think en passant has to be forced here because this pawn becomes too strong otherwise. We'll take with our queen. And we could be looking at this, and this, for example, to get castled, if we should want to. So currently here we're up one pawn against a 1640 rated opponent. Could be an absolutely fantastic headline here today if we do get this win, although it's not for certain at all. Our opponent here intelligently dodges the queen trade, as is to be expected. And here I think this looks like a logical move, and I'm expecting this in return or in response, and we would have to move the queen, I guess. Don't quite know which square would be considered best. We can't come here and threaten another queen trade because of the knight. But still I think this has to be good. Can't come here because of the knight still. So let's come here, this is going to be played. We'll move our queen and just go on ahead and castle there. We do in fact get this move instead, which I guess forces us to stay on this diagonal here, because otherwise there is a threat here of a fork. A good find by our opponent here, and we can't come out here and threaten this while staying on the diagonal, once again because of this knight here on f3. I guess our opponent here might be intending to come here. And if we come back here trying to defend like this, the rook appears to get quite annoying there. Although, if we do come back and the rook comes up here, can we come up like this? But then there is this capture, and we get this isolated pawn. And of course an isolated pawn doesn't have to mean the end of the world, but it doesn't look all that pleasant. So this is a good find by our opponent here. What do we do in response? There has to be some way of defending this square. I don't want to come back all the way to b8, although it might be necessary. Our opponent's intended response here most likely going to be this, as it appears to somewhat trap our queen there, unless we block. We can't block like this, simply loses a piece. So let's say this is played. And if this is played, that's no good, I guess. An interesting complication here for sure. How would we respond? So if we can't come to b8 here, and we can't stay here, I guess we'd have to evaluate this, I guess. And this. Here we might have bishop to d7, I guess. We still control this square with the queen. We block the rook. And we can kick the knight out there, I think. This might have to be our best option. It's not ideal here because, of course, our opponent does get a lot of pressure against us, but sometimes we have to make some compromises. And let's come out here. I'm expecting this to be played, after which this will be our response, because a7 here is still defended by our knight. I don't love being pinned here, but as long as we get to play a6 here, it should be okay. there is no tactic like this. Would have liked for it to be possible hitting the queen in this, but the knights cover each other, and well, the knight could just come back and defend the queen. Not defend the queen, I guess, because you don't want the queen to be taken by a knight, but well, simply it doesn't work, is my point. So while we're still up a pawn here, if we're able to consolidate, I think we should be quite happy. A6 has to be played though. I don't think our opponent can apply immediate pressure here towards this bishop. At least none that we can not defend from. This might be annoying though, as it does threaten our knight here, and or well, we could actually just come here, because if the bishop takes the knight here, we can take with the queen and our pawn structure is not compromised, and then at this point the knight is probably kicked back here. The bishop does come out through the square I mentioned. We'll come here and cover c6. Most likely this will be played. Essentially forcing us to take with our bishop, and our opponent has the bishop here. Trying to play a bit quickly here, of course, as we have been talking about recently, considering our recent time situations, or less than ideal time situations at least. We've been losing quite a lot on time. This is in fact played as, well, it's a good move. It forces us to play like this, and the bishop here does prevent us from castling immediately. So we'll have to kick the bishop out. How do we go about doing it? It's not an easy task, I guess. This and this might be a necessary maneuver, but it does not look fantastic. We can't come here and hit the bishop either because of this bishop. We can't castle. So which options do we have left then? Honestly, the bishop here has to go, but it's not all that easy trying to find out the best way of doing so, or forcing it away, that is. This knight requires 3 moves to hit the bishop. This knight can do it in 2, like this. The queen should not hit the bishop, as if it's defended. I don't think it quite works out. We could come here though, hitting this bishop. And then we could remaneuver here. Might definitely be an idea. If this is played, we just take this, we hit the bishop. It doesn't want to go here as it's lost there, most likely. There is still this, but it doesn't appear all that threatening. So if this is played, our opponent might just go on ahead and ignore it. Maybe. But we would open up this avenue towards hitting the bishop. So I think in fact we'll be playing this move, coming out here, and hopefully getting some kind of counterplay against the bishop and d6, eventually allowing us to castle. This does open up our light squared bishop as well, which is quite nice. And we could be looking at a slow maneuver like this, unpinning ourselves. Maybe coming out here, we'll have to see. At least that's what I'm thinking at this point. This rook is open now as well. So I think this move here becomes quite important, as it just opens up a lot of options for us. But still, this bishop here is worth more than 3 points, as it's currently restricting our entire position. If we do get to castle here though, I think we should be in a pretty decent position. We're not entirely out of any trouble here, but we might definitely get into a position which might be quite a bit better than what we've been in thus far. So first intuition here is this move might be annoying and our opponent might just play like this. The reason I'm considering this as annoying is I think the pressure here becomes annoying, becomes strong, but well, we see this knight coming out here, and if we do take the bishop, this might be the intended response. Although, if that's played, we would have the option of coming out here. See this, takes, and this, and we can hit the bishop. However, we might have the option here of coming to this square immediately. If we do so, probably with this knight, which is not defended by a pawn. This hits the bishop. However, the bishop could just drop back here and stay along this diagonal, and we can't easily block its threat towards f8 or control over the square. So I think in fact we'll be playing this. If takes, maybe a6, I guess, might be an option. This is just one of the positions here where we end up trying to find out what to do, and I'm not entirely sure, but what I'm realizing here we might have is takes, and whatever takes on this square we could come here, looking to get to e7, so we can castle, blocking the bishop down here. But anyways, I think we're going to start off with this move. It looks to be quite strong and should help us in many ways. This is played and the pawn here is targeted, but do we not just have a6? a6, and we have a fantastic outpost for our bishop as well. At least if this knight is not there, that is this, maybe this. Still, of course, we don't have a fantastic position considering the bishop here just playing incredibly well, or well, playing the role of at least two pieces, I guess. What I don't quite love is the potential of this being played because of this pin here, and we can't take. So let's say we do have this on the board. What would we play in response? The knight here is not defended by this pawn because of the pin. So honestly, that's not ideal. There might be an option here of playing the rook up and coming back here to defend the pawn and hit the bishop. This is definitely quite complicated. Is this a massive issue though? It does appear to be a problem here, of course, because this pawn is threatened, and we might have to play this so as to avoid getting checkmated even. If we come here, this is going to be taken. How bad is it? We can't come here as a response because we don't control e5 all that well. Do we have to sack the pawn here? This is only assuming, of course, our opponent finds this move. But what happens if we come here, though? then this might be playable. No, not quite. Then we take the knight. But what happens if the knight jumps in though? It looks annoying, of course, but could we just not come around here maybe? Hit the bishop, and I think we'll go for it. It's definitely not an easy position here to maneuver. But if we do entangle a bit here, we might be in for a good game. Well, I guess this is still a good game, but by a good game here, I mean a game with better chances for us. Now this is our ideal maneuver, I think. Although this move could be met with this immediately. Hitting the knight here, and it would be hanging because of the pin. And there is a threat, first of all, of a checkmate like this. And also just of being annoying on this square e7. I'm hoping this is not found because it appears to be the most annoying move in the position, but it's definitely not unlikely to be played, as this pin is not difficult to spot. We can't quite move out of the way either, although we could have this kind of a maneuver. But let's say this is played, this might just be played in response either way. Then there is this, and there I guess our opponent still gets in here, and it's not ideal, but we would have to find out what to do there. I'm trying to have a look at this and figuring out whether it works or not. I don't think it does, because it becomes too difficult to defend all our pieces here. The knight is of course hanging. We can't come here because of this. So this maneuver which I looked at doesn't work out tactically. And because it doesn't work out tactically, we might have to come up with some alternative solutions. If the knight here moves though, we might have the option of coming around like this, which might be good for us. Of course here, if we were already castled and our rook was on e8, the position I think would favor us. Might not entirely favor us, but doesn't look to be entirely bad either. So this is played. As I mentioned, it's probably the most annoying move in the position here, but I think this is going to be our best response. I'm a bit fearful for what this move might do, but I guess we take the knight immediately there at least. If this is played, we have to move the rook. I don't think we have a better response to this knight move here by our opponent than this here. So let's come up here. In fact, we're down to 3 minutes and 48 seconds. So we'll have to maneuver this position. It's, I guess, too quick, too fast of a too quick of a speed, tempo, pace for my liking, but well, sometimes we just have to play a bit quicker than we would have liked to. So I think this knight move here by our opponent might even be an inaccuracy if they don't get to capitalize on the move, because if this doesn't work and this doesn't work, our opponent might have to come back, and I think we've made progress in the following position. We might be able to maybe move the bishop out here, which interestingly enough here might have meant this queen move here might have been better, because then we could immediately generate a threat here with a single bishop move. Not easy to say, of course, might not be the best move, but there is an idea here at least in the position. I was considering an absolutely ridiculous move here, namely g4 by our opponent. Just cementing the knight here on f5 might even be the top engine move. Not quite sure there, but even a move like this might be, or well, that's not good because it loses the knight, I guess. And if we're targeted down here, we can just come in with the bishop, so maybe not. Would have been really fun getting a back rank checkmate in this game. Most likely not. Let's say, for instance, we were to trade down material here. We have a fantastic endgame if that's going to be the case. First of all, we're up a pawn. Second of all, we have the better pawn structure. But that's just a far-fetched dream for now, as we'll have to still, as I mentioned, untangle from this mess which we've gotten ourselves into. I'm still looking for some tactical options here. Let's say, for instance, a funny rook lift like this because of the pin. But, well, here it doesn't work though. So maybe not, but there could be some quickly added pressure here, and I'm not sure I entirely love what's happening there. Of course, the queen can't move, at least off of this file for now, because of the knight. So most likely, the knight has to move first. So we do have to formulate a plan, first of all, against this bishop. As I've been mentioning for a while now, our opponent's knight comes back here. So how do we get rid of this annoying piece in our opponent's position? Honestly, I think I might prefer starting off with this move, bullying the queen, and I guess getting our bishop more active, as well as getting it off of this potential long-term attack by the rook. So let's do it. The queen is going to move now, and now we might have more avenues by which to attack the bishop. If the queen moves away from this pawn, well, it could be taken, but it appears a bit greedy as of now. It's not necessarily the best idea here. And of course, there might be this fork here, which, well, our g pawn is much more valuable than this doubled b pawn. So we might delay that idea. So this is played. Our knight here is in fact targeted. Can we come here? Still no, because of this. So if that's not an option, where do we go? Could we come here, for instance, looking to play this? This might definitely be an option. As we apply pressure and solve this problem, at least we work towards solving it at the same time. So let's play it a bit quickly here. Once again, there is a time situation to consider, so we'll come up here, and if our rook is targeted, we still move our knight, I think, because if it's taken here, we can take with our bishop. This still not quite an idea, but if one rook moves off the back rank, maybe it might become an idea. At least, for instance, if this move or this rook moves, then this comes with a threat here of taking this, hitting with a check. I would love to take this bishop. It's just a thorn in our side for sure. Would have been fun getting in here actually, but doesn't really do a whole lot for us now. We have to prioritize, I think. We can't go pawn hunting while our king is still on e8 here. This bishop needs to go bye-bye. So I'm quite happy here. In fact, we've gotten to this point where we're starting to pressure our 1640 rated opponent on the clock. I do keep mentioning the rating though, and probably I should not be doing so because I might be giving them a bit too much respect and playing too respectfully considering their apparent rating here. Well, not apparent rating, but their rating. Might definitely be an idea to have in mind. But there is also an element of truth to it in regards to the moves most likely being slightly better on average. After all here, a 100-point difference does in fact account for, as far as I'm aware, a 65% win rate for the person up 100 points and 200 points. It does mean our opponent here is quite statistically probable or likely to win, I guess. But we're definitely going to give them a run for their money, that's for sure. So we're getting even in terms of time here. Fantastic. That's what we love to see. This maneuver hitting the bishop, if it comes back, we can come here and then we might actually be able to castle. And if we are able to castle, as I've been mentioning for a while now, I love our endgame chances here a whole lot. This move is a move I don't quite love seeing, and it's played, funnily enough, just as I say it. What do we come up with as a response here? This doesn't work because of this, I don't think. Yeah, it doesn't look ideal. If we go here, we set up some x-rays, but is there a concrete threat? Our opponent can't come here. So this might actually be the move. Not the move I would have loved to play, but the move we might have to play. Something like this maybe. After all, we do have most of our stuff on. No, this is a problem actually, because here we would lose the pawn. So I guess we have to keep our defense going. Oh, what a position. Okay, move quickly, Daniel. You don't have all the time in the world. Guess we'll slide on over one square. I considered this as an alternative, but I didn't quite see what we would be doing there. The bishop finally moves, and now I think this looks intriguing. But maybe that's a bait. Here, in fact, I think we can hit the queen with tempo to come around back here. To block the bishop. So we could maybe be looking at castling once we defend the knight on e7. Importantly here, our opponent has to consider the knight has to be defended as the queen moves. Oh. Well, I guess this does in fact force our hand, though. I just don't love what I'm seeing here, as there are definitely some ideas in the air. Don't have time to calculate all of it though. This might be played. If it is, we'll just have to get there. Oh, okay. We can't go here, so we're forced to the center of the board. This is a double check. A good tactic by our opponent for sure. We have to move either here or here. What's the difference? I think I'd like to come up. It's probably going to give us more options. No, we can't, because this is controlled by the knight, so this is our only move. And where does our opponent go in response? This might be played, after which we would be forced over here. Definitely doesn't look ideal here, but if there is no concrete checkmate here, our opponent has got stuff hanging, and we might as well generate our own threats. So we might still just be one move away from winning, but as I did mention, if there is something concrete here, we most likely lost the game at this point. So I guess this is where the element of luck comes in. When speaking of chess, we're first to the side here. Still, this is hanging. This isn't quite hanging. Okay, so this is played. Now this becomes somewhat of a threat. Not an immediate checkmate threat though. Could we come here? Might definitely be an option. I think we might as well force our way in here, as I don't love our chances if we don't. We don't have a lot of time to consider other moves. Would be funny to see if this move is played or not. If it is, I think we might have this. This is not the position to be playing with 30 seconds on the clock against an opponent rated 200 points higher than us, but we'll see what we can get done, of course. We're not going to just give up here. We'll be playing this for a win. We might be able to hide down here, but the bishop controls a7, so we don't have luft as of yet. Might be some back rank checkmates at some point if this rook moves, which we'll have to look into. If the queen captures here, we'll take with the rook, I think. So as not to mess up our structure here. And I guess, yeah, this is played. Oh, our opponent did in fact calculate this. I didn't love for this to happen, but this, and there's this. Oh god. Let's come here, I guess. Forcing the issue. This, and we have this, I think. Because if this is played, this is just a complicated position. And here, if the queen moves out of the way, we have back rank checkmate. So this is actually more venomous than you might consider at first glance. 20 seconds for our opponent, 20 seconds for us. This is it, guys. This is the crucial moment. One player is going to blunder. Who is it going to be? Two seconds, 1 second. We just got our highest rated win thus far. Plus 12 points today. I'm just going ahead first of all here and say thanks for the game to our opponent. This was a fantastic game and incredibly fun. 12 points today, guys. That's a whole lot. And it does show the rating difference quite well. One mistake, we did not make a blunder in this position or in this game, at least not on the depth which is considered here. we'll still jump on into the game review here and have a look. I am incredibly happy with this game and our result. Honestly, I don't even mind 72% accuracy. It's not high, but this was a Sicilian here. We played against a 1640 opponent, and they even had a brilliant move here, which we'll be getting into. I didn't feel like this was a 1300 performance, although, of course, there were inaccuracies in the Sicilian here, which we will be getting into. Let's start the review. I'll just move the microphone a bit. Hopefully that's not too loud for you guys. And we'll have a quick look here. This was all good stuff. Theory. This was in fact an inaccuracy. Apparently it's just too greedy. And here we might actually be supposed to sack a pawn in exchange. Or in return. Or maybe not, in fact. I guess we're up a pawn, but there is just a lot of counterplay here. And there is this even. Well, it's not the best move, but still, I guess. But honestly, I think we did quite well in this position. But in hindsight, I would have went here. Because, well, you guys saw what happened. We never got to castle this game. Which honestly kind of worked to our favor in the end there, as our opponent got a bit too desperate, trying to go for something. I don't blame them, it did seem like there might be something there. We went for this, apparently not good, because there is this move. So let's have a quick look at what happens here. Oh, of course, because we can't easily deal with this potential forking idea here. What happens if we move this? Then the bishop comes alive. Okay, neither of us saw that idea. Our opponent dodged the queen trade, we went here, and at this point we weren't in a horrible position, but I didn't see our response to this. But that's just because apparently I'm blind as can be. That's actually quite funny. Did not consider it and walked into a worse position because of this. Apparently it's not worse, or well, the end of the world here at least, because there was this move forcing the issue once again, and here we would have had to sack material. Not fun, but this, and we were back to equality. This is typical Sicilian shenanigans. Really? Did I miss this? Oh. We could just dodge the fork there by castling, and all our troubles would have been solved at this point, but, well, apparently I'm blind, and... Oh, this was apparently a massive blunder. Should have went here, which I considered later on, as I did mention, because this would have allowed for this to happen, but I didn't see it in time. Went here. But what happens if, for instance... No, actually there is no knight move here that threatens this yet, because the knight is on f3. Okay, but we went here, and apparently this just wins the game immediately for our opponent, as there is a fork here as well as here now. So we can't come here because it loses the knight, I suspect, yes. Was not played. This was a tactically difficult position, so I don't blame our opponent for even a second here. Should have not taken, should have apparently went up here and threatened the bishop, but what happens if it comes back? Then I guess we bully it. If it comes back all the way though, then I guess we take it, of course, yeah. So this might have actually been a way here of forcing the bishop off of the diagonal, which I didn't quite see. We went here. Luckily this didn't work. Queen to g5 was in fact better, as I mentioned in hindsight here, but it's not all that easy to evaluate. Here the knight should have apparently just jumped in and been the most annoying knight in the world, and our best move was sacking the rook to the knight here. Can't come here because of the bishop. The pawns control this, and this would have not been good. It's just passive, and that's not what we need in this position. Once again, an inaccuracy. It's just, this game is just filled with inaccuracies, but that's by Stockfish's standards. This was not the best move. Should have went here. I didn't love blocking this rook here and potentially pinning ourselves. And we were getting low on time here. This was a good move. We had this as a response. And this was a brilliant move and the best move in the position. Let's have a quick look here and see if it was not played. The game is pretty much in equality. Because it was played, it's 0.9 in our opponent's favor. Apparently this is already the wrong approach, but it's incredibly difficult to play here, playing entirely accurate. Our hand is forced here, and our opponent finds the wrong moves, we find the correct one, and this is actually the right move as well. This would have been bad, I didn't love it. Apparently it's just equal, but this here seems a whole lot better, because now we get to trade on our terms and the knight doesn't fork us. Well, it does in fact fork us here actually, but this, and we at least do appear to have some more counterplay and activity. Honestly, I didn't consider here at this point the knight could still fork us. However, there might have been this move, and then this fork doesn't work. Okay. I just wanted to play on our terms here and not trade into our opponent's plans, and it worked. We won on the clock today. And this has been a fantastic game. I'm just thrilled today. This is a result I didn't expect, but I'm quite happy. So well then, guys, I'm honestly at a loss for words here. This is, as I mentioned, our highest rated win. This is incredibly optimistic, and oh wow, apparently the screen goes black there as I jump back and forth to OBS. But I'll come back to this screen and we'll end the video here. So thanks guys for watching the video to the end. See, I'm just lost for words here. First of all, I'd like to thank our opponent once again, Mahar Baurjilip from the Philippines. I want to thank you guys for watching through the end of the video. I hope you loved today's video and liked it rather. I had a blast, and the result was fantastic. So well, I hope you have a fantastic rest of your days. This has been our game for today, and I hope to see you all tomorrow. Hope to see you all tomorrow, guys. Bye bye.